The Musical Microcosm proposes a new institution of music making. It sees the programme of a whole music industry condensed into a single site in Glasgow city centre. It contains facilities for performance, practice, production and collaboration on a small and localised scale. This is to remove dependency on bigger global companies while supporting local musicians, people and communities. The microcosm responds to issues identified in research which affect musicians and the wider industry. Economic pressures cause strain on musicians and venues. Trades such as instrument making and maintenance are dying, and the increasing digital consumption causes a general degradation of music and musical culture. There's a key parallel between the state of the musician and that of the musical venue that became integral to the thesis. Hence, Glasgow's most recent and sore loss to the music industry is the site of the microcosm. The O2 ABC sat on Sauchiehall Street and served its community as a place of entertainment for over a century. Its significance comes from its needless demise and reflects a degrading music industry. The microcosm grows from within its walls and imagines a different reality for what could have been. The program diagram is organized into 3 types of use: musicians and industrians, public, and mixed. These tend to overlap and merge as one becomes more familiar with the microcosm. Generally, key spaces are contained between ground floor and third floor. These are host to units for production businesses like instrument workshops and media pressing, as well as formal and informal performance spaces. While education is a huge part of sustaining community, this never happens in formal situations. Education and careers are progressed through apprenticeships, where people learn just by doing. The ground floor plan sees a clear circulation route through the building, leading to a central performance space. This circular performance space refers to existing iterations of the ABCs of theatre, where a skylight overhead signified the key space. Surrounding the performance space are workshop units accessed by the public through market stalls. A publicly accessible library and jam space are entered directly from the street, maximizing on potential public engagement while maintaining a sense of curiosity about what the rest of the building has to offer. The building deliberately leads the public from ground floor directly to third floor, up the main stair. This refers to the design of Hamburg Philharmonic, which sees the public's entrance route surpassing lower-level programmatic elements, which are perhaps less engaging or repetitive. The all-encompassing program can be best illustrated in its long section. The section demonstrates the unification of vastly different kinds of functions. This idea loosely references a similar notion of living and working together as musicians, as explored through the Jazz House in 5A. The final response similarly accommodates lots of different users united by music under the same roof. The microcosm treats the O2's elevations sensitively, retaining its character as the people of Glasgow formed bonds with its history. Where its side elevations were incredibly mistreated through various renovations, the proposed elevations suggest the continuation of coherent language and traditional order. Entrances were a very important part of designing the journey through the microcosm. I explored the opportunity to flip the narrative. Musicians typically enter through back doors, tucked away and hidden. I wanted a place where musicians enter proudly, where backstage is on show and musicians have a front door. Therefore, the musicians of Glasgow enter the microcosm directly from Sauchiehall Street, through a homely feeling front door, with opportunity to enter through a back door on Scott Street. The public's entrance is less simple. While they don't enter through a back door, when the public pass through the building's threshold, they must interact with the microcosm in some way. The listening booth is the main component of this. Based on forms of record store listening booths throughout the 60s and 70s, the arch booth acts as a lift from Dalhousie Street into the microcosm's library and archive at ground floor. These booths provide access to all types of physical musical media, again encouraging a physical first interaction with the building. The main circulation route through the building became an additional way of providing extra shop frontages, and therefore opportunities for public engagement. Creating an additional street within the building reinforces the concept of a condensed city. I drew inspiration from studies of existing arcades in Glasgow to identify what features make people feel like they're in an arcade space. As mentioned before, the heart of the microcosm is a central performance space. The ballroom functions as a multi-use hub of activity. The ballroom not only provides an open stage for all to stumble upon for free, but also contains a musical marketplace. This is where musicians and industrians can exchange services between themselves, as well as providing a platform to engage in business with the public. Disco balls represent fun and celebration to me, and during the design process, I began noticing disco balls all over Glasgow. To reference the ABC's existing skylight and give the ballroom a heart of sorts to revolve around, the ballroom skylight takes the form of a large disco ball formed of glass blocks. This would allow light to permeate into the space while distributing stage lighting around the room, reinforcing the vibrant atmosphere within. I explored a tectonic dimension that became very important for the microcosm. I was interested in the theory of unifying music and architecture, and I read about music being referred to as liquid architecture and architecture frozen music. I wanted to bridge the gap. The rotating wall was formed from the idea of having potentially endless variations of a theme, just like in music, to form different room arrangements which could ultimately be used to jam in. I drew inspiration from rotating door precedents and considered to accommodate for the acoustic element. The jam spaces sit in the corner of Sucky Hall and Dalhousie Street. I retained the repetitive frontage that aligns with the original facade treatment, as well as the typical shopfront typology on a Scottish high street. But I wanted this to be permeable, so having rotating walls attached to these columns allowed both a colonnade and the potential for a closed space if need be. Having tried to find affordable practice rooms during my 5A research, it became apparent that there are limited options available in the city. The best I could find were Mitchell Library's music chorales, which were very high in demand. It was clear that acoustically the rooms were not constructed for music practice, so I focused on this when designing my own practice pods. The trapezium shape is said to enhance sounds in a room by preventing excess reverb, and the fluid shape of the desk is meant to allow for both playing, writing, and working with ease in one space. In addition to the form of the room, the surfaces in the room are considerate of acoustics too. Ridged foam insulation on the walls and recycled rubber floor tiles are implemented to remove further excess reverb. This is especially helpful if users wish to record themselves, as I did when I was in Mitchell Library practice rooms. An undercurrent that was present through the whole project was the union of architecture and music as disciplines. I thought a lot about how languages are transferable, even to those without a musical or architectural background. For instance, certain types of architecture can be associated with certain types of music. The example I've given is brutalist style Soviet architecture, and music written by Shostakovich, a Russian composer. I formed a playlist compiled with my key influences throughout the process, to help illustrate that I didn't only see the building as a series of architectural drawings and visual concepts, but I heard the building too. I wanted to achieve a design that's modern while sensitive and appreciative of existing forms, playful and exciting, reflective and even serious at times, and these are themes that I've extracted from a selection of musical pieces.